Hello and welcome back to the Mayor's Update.
Look, we fit.
We all fit.
Right? It's great.
I mean, it's getting into the winter season, so we've kind of bulked up a little bit to make it through in case, we have a shortage.
Well, and since the singular show of last week, we decided we'd add 3, so we get the numbers back to normal.
Exactly. You got to make up for it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't get to say anything tonight because all we did was talk last week. And so the two of you are carrying the show this week.
Yeah, I heard you were. I was like, that's not a good idea. I'm not quite as eloquent as you are. I don't think.
And I ran out of fluids about halfway through because
we all have drinks now.
So I brought a big drink tonight. So we're okay.
Water.
Right. Well, welcome to Mayor's Update. And remind you all, this is the show that lets you ask any question you want about the municipality of St. Thomas. And we've got Jodi with us tonight from Employment Services.
Yeah.
And so
great to be here.
You know that we've actually been talking a little bit over the last couple of months and surely the last 2 or 3 years about job growth in St. Thomas. And so we thought we'd finally get an expert that wasn't just Grayden and I.
Yeah. Right? I think this is a good idea for employing people.
Yeah.
How do you think?
Or if you're looking for work, what steps you might want to take.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for work. Are you looking for work? You've got more work than you can possibly do.
I am giving away work to people right now.
That's exactly what I'm doing too. So we thought we'd ask some really pertinent questions about St. Thomas. So please get your questions in, whether it has to do with employment services or other questions about St. Thomas. Let's do it. But let's start with Jodi. So employment services, Elgin.
Yeah.
I have a long and sordid history with that.
You certainly do, Joe. Yes.
I was only 12 when I was first chair of the board.
And you worked early as a young man.
Oh, no. Geez. Yes, I had 4 jobs and they were all snow covered. No, never.
That was far before Jodi's time, though.
Right, well, clearly, yes. So let's talk about employment services and talk about job searching in St. Thomas, because that's truly the things we're trying to connect.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
we have jobs and we're making them grow. And by the posters on the wall, you see how much more we're trying to make jobs grow in St. Thomas.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so we're trying to prepare people for a period of time, 2 or 3 years from now. If you would like a really good, high-paying job at PowerCo making batteries.
Right.
I'm pointing at the one on the table. You can't see it, but I'm pointing at it.
But we can grab.
Show the battery.
Oh, there we go. I got it. Yeah. This battery.
That battery. Okay. Right. But if you'd like a job in 2 to 3 years working at PowerCo, what steps should you be doing with your life right now? And many of them are. I mean, I keep saying it. Get employed. Because if you have a job, you'll almost always be able to move on to other jobs. But if you've got a good period of time in your resume where you haven't worked, that will also be something that will be discouraging to an employer later on in life. So tell me about Employment Services Elgin and some of the basic services you offer, what you do to help people find work.
Yeah. So when people walk into our door, we have a whole staff complement that are experts in the field, and they can help with developing resumes, cover letters. If people get interviews, they can help, move on to the interview process.
Right.
There's employment action plans that they create as well.
Yes.
So working towards, if somebody identifies a goal, such as working for PowerCo that they want to work towards, then the employment specialist would
do we do next?
Help that.
Right.
Yeah. Help that along. So career exploration. So say, someone just finished school and they're not really sure what direction to go in. We can also help develop their career plan and do some exploring, what skills and attributes they have that would work.
Main question, how much is it going to cost someone who goes in to talk with one of your folks?
Free, no cost. All services are free. We're an Employment Ontario program. So we offer the Employment Services Suite. So we are funded by the ministry and actually London Regional Employment Services as well as the service system manager. So there is a program called Better Jobs Ontario where we will retrain, used to be called Second Careers. And that helps people that want to retrain in a different career or they have never been onto additional
older
training.
Workers re-entering the workforce, but also I just want to have a better job than the one I have.
Yes.
I really love this one. But I know we help with that.
Yes,
I'll say
absolutely.
we still, because I was involved for so
That's
long.
okay.
We,
Okay.
it's okay. Then what would you need to do? What qualifications would it take? What schooling might it take? Could you take it part-time at night and still keep the job you have? Those types of questions are all answered.
Absolutely.
But you left out one other great big piece, and I'm going to put on my employer's hat.
Sure.
Right? And say, but you also help employers match those people, the people who are looking for work, looking for skills, with jobs. And I don't mean just my organization, but we use you too, right? To try and fill roles and to try and get people into a productive employment piece. And then from there, certainly we talk a lot about what's the next step, Liam. But you do it very well in your organization. So somebody comes in, a student through 80 years old, because we have all sorts of people looking for work and need different, but everybody has some different skills. Comes with different skills, but also has some different needs. Okay, I just spent 35 years working in an organization that is no longer there. Now we're talking about that new job piece that I was talking about.
The retraining and the Better Jobs Ontario.
Right.
And just looking at, what skills you've already got, but then if you want to pivot directions and retrain, then that's certainly something that we can help with.
Or there's people who've been out there being very successful with somebody like the Small Business Enterprise Center or the Elgin Business Resource Center, and have been their own boss for a little while. But now are saying, no, but I think I'd like to go back to work. Well, then they come with a whole nother set of skills of having been a management in a company of their own, and how hard that is to do, and then the skills needed. But you talked also about helping people write resumes that will be looked at, and that's a skill, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we've got lots of years of experience. We've been in the business for over 30 years, and staff that work with us are passionate about helping people find work and writing the resumes and helping with that as well. Because that's where you want to put your best foot forward to sell yourself to employers. So,
Okay, and so a resume would get you then maybe to go somebody's door to go knock on, somebody to go see, or an ad that you've seen, or a job posting on your website or at the shop. Right, and then they would walk in and there would be an interview. We would hope.
Yes. Yeah,
I used to spend a great deal of time doing practice interviews, right, at the Youth Employment Counseling Center, right, and it was to. I wrote an article a little while ago for people in our business that first you hire a smile. I can train people just about anything I need to do in my business. So it was getting people to feel comfortable enough across that first interview table to smile. Well, you've already been, you saw some of my sick jokes already tonight, and my assault and battery. And so I would always try during interviews to do some of that, not to see if they thought my jokes were funny, but to see if they would react positively like they might to a customer. Right? So we could teach that. But teaching interview skills or preparing someone for interview skills has never been to a job interview. It's one of the most tense parts of your life. You're so insecure. They're not going to like me, Mom. I get it. I used to call Mom at age 40, but no.
It's not an easy process to go through. No, and sometimes there's a lot of anxiety around it. And that's part of what we do is try to calm, people and get them to be able to present themselves, articulately at an interview and, and talk about their skills and experience.
Well, and I used to also try and remind people, even people who are my current employees going to look for other jobs or going to do other things, you should not get good at doing interviews.
No.
I mean, if you stop to think of it, it's maybe the best advice you can give. You have to learn how to just be yourself 2 or 3 times in life, and that'll get you hired 2 or 3 jobs. Right. And if you can think it that way, it is not, no one, no prospective employer ever hurt somebody they were interviewing that I know of. But it's more a matter of, I might hurt your feelings or I might tell you bad jokes. But it is about feeling like I want the job that I'm going to apply for. And then
Yeah.
answer the questions truthfully, and you can't really go wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What other things are offered?
So in terms of employers, because we were talking a bit about employers, we can support them with job postings. We have space at the resource center. If we've had employers come on site and do little mini job fairs,
Yes.
new employers in town will come in and use the space, and then we'll help sort of field the crowds that are interested in jobs. So that's always a fun day for us.
Well, we'd like to make you a little busier with some of the industries we're attracting.
Yeah.
Perhaps not all of them, but the vast majority of them are going to need assistance in local hiring, right?
Yeah.
They're coming from somewhere else to build a product here in St. Thomas. And we've had great success with that. We can go back 20 years and go, look at some of the companies we helped do hiring in.
Yeah.
And we're it's quite successful.
Yeah.
Now, are there some programs as well to help? Say there's an employer and they're bringing somebody on and they're like, I don't have a lot of time to train them, so I can't pay them full price right now. Do you help with the wages at all?
There is what we call like a training incentive that is available to employers, and that will help offset some of the training costs and the time that they need to invest in new employees. So there is a little bit of training incentives that we can offer employers. There's also a really great program that we deliver called the Canada-Ontario Job Grant. And that's for existing employees. So if somebody has an employee already and they want to send them for training or maybe get their AZ or something like that, that's also something that we can help employers with as well. So that's a really good resource in the community that's been well utilized.
And I know between our social services and yourself, we also help some employees with some of the needs they have to have for their new job, whether a safety vest, safety shoes, those types of things, if that happens.
Absolutely. So we've got employment support funding that will help with, work boots if someone needs to do their first aid, CPR, forklift training, interview clothing, different supports like that. Sometimes even, bus tickets to get to the interview or something like that. So, that's
and we often, when there's a job fair, a community-wide job fair, rip up the bus fares that day and say, get on out there.
Yes, we appreciate that support. For sure.
It's important for our city to move forward economically. And if we don't continue to fill the employment pieces that are available now, I look forward to the 3,000, 4,000 jobs out of one great big company called PowerCo, and then the other jobs that are coming that are based on those too. But because of the growth we're seeing, we've seen incredible growth in the commercial sector, and Grayden will share even in the downtown sector where we've got 8 or 9 new businesses in the last month and a half. Right? And so this is the growth we wanted, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We all said this is what we have to do to be a better city. So we're doing it. So let's get the jobs to match the people who need the jobs.
Yes.
No,
absolutely.
Are there any jobs you specialize in? If someone's looking, say someone wants to be a nurse, are they going to come through your service versus another trade?
We really cover the whole gamut in terms of what people are interested in. So we have anywhere from, someone that's never worked before to maybe someone who was trained internationally or maybe did post-secondary, but now they just need a little bit of support to get to take that first step. So we really cover the whole gamut.
Everything.
Anybody that is looking for any type of work, we would support them. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
perfect.
No one should be afraid to give you guys a call.
Definitely.
You cover all the bases.
Yes.
Because that's part of that career planning scoping that we talk about is I don't know what I want to be, but I'm thinking it's this. What would the steps be if I want to do that? Right. And some of it's some schooling, certainly. Some of it is getting your credentials recognized. Some of it is even getting to know what the job is. And we used to, I mean, it was years ago, we used to place people temporarily into a job they thought they might want.
Yeah.
Right. 2 or 3 days at an auto body shop would either teach you I want to work there or I don't.
Pretty fast.
Yeah.
But we have many employers in town who said, I'll do it, I'll help. Right?
Yeah. And, like a job trial type thing.
Sure, job trial stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They'd go and spend a few days, decide if that's the direction or they want to do something completely different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of similar organizations that help with employment in the area.
Yeah.
What sets your organization apart from those organizations?
I think the biggest thing is we have been around in the community for over 30 years. So, we've seen the labor market change. We were around when Ford closed. We were around when Amazon was built. Like, we've seen the labor market change. We've gone with the changes. We've had some really great long-term staff that are around.
Tina, Mark. Fantastic people that I know personally.
Lots of fantastic, too many to name, but they really have a genuine interest in helping people move their lives forward and improving their lives. And to me, that's our greatest asset as an organization is the people that work with us.
So that's what sets you apart. Amazing people.
We like the knowledge base. And the whole community collaboration piece. We're really well connected with different community organizations. We receive referrals from all of our community partners. And then if we need support as well from them, then we'll refer out to them as well.
Absolutely.
So we really are collaborative and community focused for sure.
Well, I think we've even got a shout out for you here from Paul Jenkins.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Paul.
Saying, Jodi is a force. Chamber is always happy to partner with her and her team. Love that you're talking about employers.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
Paul, you're right. And thank you for pointing that, because the employers are the second half of this of the equation. But I know as you've made relationships throughout our community, it isn't always about somebody just walking in the door and saying, I'd like to be, or I'd like a job. Oftentimes you can say, I know right who to call right now.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you know the employer that's been asking you something specific, or somebody who would meet certain qualifications. And so it really helps in a community our size to have those type of relationships. So Paul is absolutely right. The relationship with the Chamber of Commerce and other employers is really an important piece.
And the Chamber is supportive. We do an annual job fair, and there's a bunch of community partners that are involved in that. The Chamber being one of them, and we appreciate, again, the collaboration and the support of everybody involved, and really made it a huge success this last April.
Absolutely. It was massive.
Yeah, it was our biggest yet. We're going bigger next year.
Good.
Well, let's do it. Do we have to split off because we've got a lot of questions?
We're gonna do that shortly, but I just want to get to this one last question, which is like, everyone's seen you, they've heard everything you provide. How do they connect up with you or your staff?
So just give us a call. 519-631-5470. We'll reach our front desk, and they'll be happy to book you in with an employment specialist that can help you, or esc@employmentserviceselgin.ca. And then we have social media presence, Facebook and Instagram as well. Tina takes care of.
And if you missed that, we'll make sure we post it.
We'll
make sure that customer service here has it, because I'm sure they do.
Yes.
We answer all questions, all citywide. And some of them are, where do I go? What's employment services?
Employmentserviceselgin.ca is our website. So
simple, straightforward, to the point. Very effective. Nicely done.
Thanks, Grayden. Thank
you.
Having me.
And if you go to the Established Media, just did a post about Light Up Talbot, and you're one of the volunteers, sponsors on board for that stuff. So if you go to that post, you can also find the Facebook link in case you didn't follow any of that on that Light Up Talbot post.
Everything's interconnected here in St. Thomas. You can find us 100 different ways.
And if you just ask anybody.
And I'll tell you where it is. And
they say it's like 6 degrees of separation, but in St. Thomas it's like 2 to 1.
1.5. Because I think I know what you're talking about.
All right. So if you have some employment questions, ask them in the chat. We're going to start working our way through the questions. We're going to hopefully get to some of the city business that was covered yesterday.
Yes.
So Rob Stern's saying, I don't ask questions here very often, but here it goes. I would like to know why council goes against the recommendations of the Municipal Heritage Committee so often, i.e. removing the heritage designation on 77 Metcalfe and the designation on half the railway lands. The MHC recommended against it.
Yes, and it is a committee of council that brings report to council, and then council makes final decisions on what the city does. 77 Metcalfe was an easy one. The owner of the property said, I don't want my house designated. I bought this house and it was heritage designated, and I don't want it. It's costing me more to do repairs. It's costing me more for insurance. That's what the owner of the property said. We've said forever that we won't force heritage designation on any property owner. And so that's where we're at. The downtown railway lands have a heritage designation as part of the downtown, and when we go through the secondary plan, we'll talk about that again. But we weren't taking a conversation right at the beginning from the Heritage Committee that said no before we had talked anything, any movement from the Railway Museum, any movement from the Doug Terry Group purchasing the land, any movement from the city. We said, come back in the plan, in the secondary plan, and we'll talk about it then. So, Rob, you're right on both of those cases. We said no, and we think rightfully so. Hopefully we answered your question.
Very good. Thank you, Rob, for asking that. Okay. Next question's from Brett Longfield. It says, what is the local effect of LMIA fraud? I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
And corporate government exploitation of immigration policy.
No idea. Don't know what the question means, so I really can't answer it. If we can get more detail from Brett, I'll be able to. I hate guessing what certain things mean, so that one there I can't get at.
The next question from Brett is, why is Fanshawe's St. Thomas campus offering programs only for international students? I'm not aware of that.
It is not. I am aware it does not have anything that is strictly international students. And the shrinking of international students at our community colleges is something that's happening right now. We'll discuss later whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they really do help the community colleges with filling seats.
Yeah, filling seats and budgets.
And budgets. So I get that we want, in certain jobs, we want Canadians to have them, and we should train them to do it, but there better be people lined up for the seats in the classrooms. That's it. But you're wrong on the fact that there are some designated only for international students.
Martin McKnight, I would like construction to finish before starting new ones. Busing kids to school is rough.
Okay. We should only have one construction program on it at a time. We're a big city, and so we had Canes going on at the same time as Highbury, at the same time as Third Ave this summer, and they're all pretty big projects.
Yeah.
In order for us to keep the asset base in St. Thomas where we want it to be, that is good roads with good underground piping and connections, we can't possibly do only one project at a time. We do try to separate, and we do spend time talking about that's a north-south route. Let's not do another north-south route while we're doing
because you get all blocked up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I found it in London. I got myself caught into
in London of all places, going north on Wellington.
So I don't go anymore.
Good luck. Good luck.
Right.
Oh man, Terry Mason. Now this goes back to the employment side of the discussion when you were talking about what are you looking for in employees?
Yeah.
And his comment is that teach accountability, transparency, be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
If you are not honest in an interview, eventually you will be found out.
Yes.
And so it's just easier to be you and do it.
Yeah.
Another question from Brett Longfield. How is the need for landscaped programmable open space in the city's core, particularly on the rail lands, being accounted for in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan update?
Well, the Parks and Rec Master Plan update is ongoing and is being refreshed right now by Monteith Brown, a consultant firm that did the last one. So we're looking at the citywide Parks and Rec Master Plan. Where should trails be? What else should we have? What facilities might we have? But the question, what's the need for landscape programmable? I don't know. When we're done with the Parks and Rec Master Plan, we'll have a fairly good piece added to our strategic plan of what should be next. I feel very strong about connecting a lot more trails. We're at about 48 kilometers of trails, and I think we keep people safer on bikes and walking. Yeah, if we can do trails off the streets, but I want to see what the master plan says. Part of the agreement in last night's council was to also do the recreational center, the new recreational center, whatever that might be in St. Thomas, qualification plans as part of the master plan. So we'll do it.
Very good.
It is.
Brad apparently was texting you some quizzes about how to get onto the live stream, but he's found it.
Okay.
So welcome, Brad. Glad you made it.
Okay.
Terry Mason's also following up on the employment side of our discussion, saying a living wage would be a good start. Couldn't agree more. If you're not having a wage that you can live on, it's not going to work. Brett Longfield, what is the current state of the economy considering new full-time job openings relative to layoffs and or unemployment applications?
Well, I haven't heard of many layoffs in the city of St. Thomas. Certainly haven't. Our growth has been exponentially large, and with new big businesses coming, being prepared for those jobs is really important. I know there's been a lot of conversation over the last decade or so about employment agencies or employment services companies, for-profit companies.
Yeah.
And I just see the need going away.
Yeah.
Because the jobs are getting filled. And certainly in great big new industries, we would like to do the hiring in a different way than using a employment service agency,
like a private
yeah,
right. Yeah. Because I think there's other resources available.
However, there are some jobs that we've already found with about 125 people employed by PowerCo here in St. Thomas. These jobs are very specialized, whether they're HR specializing or engineering specialists or even construction specialists that are now at the top of the group here from PowerCo. Now that group will grow from about 125 to about 300 over the next year or so. And so there will be some specialized jobs that have to do with those two. But I think many of them can be people from St. Thomas and region also.
And I'm sure you could also connect in with their HR department and ask them, be like, hey, what are you looking for over the next year, 2 years? What can I train myself to do? Because that's one of the things we've talked about as well, and you've mentioned it before, is that you need to look at the long term and say, this is what I want to do. What are the options available if I want to stay in St. Thomas? And I'm sure you could tie in with those people and you could help them see what's available, what's coming up, and how to get trained for it.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about also the wages in different sectors. And I will let you know, we had this conversation in my business. There are businesses out there hiring at higher wages. If that's what you're looking for, then let us come. I'll make you a plan to move from where you currently are to a job that pays more. In our business, a lot of times it's upward mobility in the corporation and becoming a manager and doing that type of thing. But that's available in almost every job you're in. So the living wage is available to you.
And early childhood educators. We need more in St. Thomas.
Yes,
we need them in Elgin.
Yes.
And the wages for those keep continuing to rise. And so, and the cost of training for them in our community colleges continues to shrink and shrink. And so it's not a bad thing if it's something you'd like to do. But you try to match yourself up with a known commodity. And most of our medical stuff too, nurses, aides, PSWs, the tuitions are all going down and the pay for them is going up. So after 2 years of training, and it may be 2 years of training after online or after the work you currently have, right? So you're not having to go without money to do it. So
Question in from Mira. She says, I've been trying to get a job in the City of St. Thomas careers such as fire admin role, but haven't gotten an interview. Can you help there?
Like prepare for an interview, or
I would assume
that was a job placement we had in the last 2 or 3 weeks for the firefighters at the fire hall, an admin role.
Okay.
And so I don't play a hands-on with them. I know of one other person that's applied. I don't know if she got an interview or not too, right? But if it's something you'd like to do, perhaps a visit to Employment Services Elgin.
Absolutely.
And we would say, here, let's suggest. Well, let's see if your resume fits what you're asking.
And then maybe do some, even the cover letter, like reviewing the cover letter or the interview skills, anything like that. We could certainly support.
And then career planning from that, right? Okay, maybe that one didn't happen, but others like it will. So now am I prepared to move on to a career path that can follow?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Brett Longfield, why are wages continuing to be suppressed through quantitative peopling?
No idea what you mean by it again, so why don't you ask the question really directly? I don't think wages are being suppressed.
No.
I think that inflation has shown us that wages continue to rise. So I guess you'd have to tell me where wages have been suppressed.
And then I think we were going through a lot of details before we got into the questions. So another question about whether or not the questions will be acknowledged during this episode, but I hope you can see that we are acknowledging the questions on this episode. As many as we can. As we're getting through them.
And if we don't, we'll answer them next week in a flurry of answers also.
Right. All right. Another comment about get on with answering people's questions. All right, Dale. We're here.
Yes,
we're answering questions.
Yes.
And again, yeah, we're answering questions.
Yeah.
We got a thanks from Terry Mason. Terry,
Yeah.
thank you. Dun, dun, dun. Rob Stern, replying to Rob Stern. Then what's the point of having a committee? And that's in relation to the Municipal Heritage Committee.
It's like saying, what's the reason for having a committee with the health unit? It's to give open, good discussion about all things that have to do with heritage.
Mm-hmm.
But the council is elected officials who actually spend the money in this community, and so our committees do answer to us. It's a given, and it's always been that way. You'd like us just to make the decisions without a heritage committee?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like not to. I'd like heritage experts and some great people on that committee, including Councillor Peters and
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Cole and a bunch of other friends. Right? We'll bring forward reports to the community, to the council, and we'll make decisions based on the reports they bring.
Mm-hmm.
And if we'd like further information, it's easy to send it back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yep,
and then we have them on the Downtown Development Board Committee as well.
absolutely, because we're a heritage designated downtown, so they come on and give us advice on here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beth Douglas, she sent a question in. I wasn't able to bring it up last week because I was away.
Right.
This week, I do have it on the list, and Beth has made sure, and this is what you need to do. If you don't hear us answering a question, you sent something in, if I've missed it, Beth is doing the right thing. She's asking it in the comments to make sure I cover it.
Right.
She's saying, is the city planning department incorporating allotments or community gardens in the city planning? Comparing us to London respectively, we are a bit behind.
Well, each of the community gardens we currently have, I'm thinking of the one at St. Catharines and Canes, the one beside the, on First Ave, beside the, Kiewant Manor,
Mm-hmm.
the one downtown, the Destination Church is doing in the parking lot behind Moore Street.
Yeah.
We try to look for pieces of unused city-owned property, what we'd call surplus property that can't hold a house or can't be a Habitat for Humanity place, and designate that or allow them. I can't think of a spot that was big enough for a community garden where when the community came to us and said, can we use this for community garden? We said no. So if you can think of a small spot that the city owns, we'll say yes. If it's a small spot that somebody in the community owns, a second half of a property or something, even talking to them may make it a community garden spot.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm just getting through. We've got a lot of more questions coming in here. I'm just kind of scanning for the last few. We have our Rogers time limit where we have to have our time out here or they're going to get us in trouble. Bradley Clift, what would you say is the probability of Penn Warden getting either rehabilitation or reconstruction in the next few years? The sidewalks, sideways, are very narrow and uneven. I'm willing to talk to customer service, etc. Just don't want to waste my time if it's in the works already.
It's not a bad idea to talk to customer service about anything, but on our website, go to construction, the street planning. There's a 10-year map of what streets would be done in what order if we had all the money in the world starting tomorrow. So find out where your street is on it. It may be that the street itself needs rehabilitation, but the water and sewer under the street no longer do or don't yet. And in 4 years, they will. And so I know you wouldn't want me to come pave your street and then dig it up 3 years from now to put new pipes underneath it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's coordination of what we call complete street rebuilds. And that's what you saw on Cane Street, down 30 feet. We saw up on South Edgeware with Highbury down 30 feet because not only did the road need to be rehabilitated, and South Edgeware may have been the worst one in the city, but we had to wait till there was need to put new pipes and water underneath. And then now there is a huge need to run water to the new wastewater treatment plant using that. But it's fairly logical. It's tiresome if you've got a really potholy street, and please let us know if that's the case. We'll do our best to make it as smooth as possible, but we won't dig it up prematurely.
Very good. Okay, we're going to say goodbye to our Rogers audience, and then we're going to continue on with the live questions.
Great. Excellent.
Because we've got a lot.
We like
fantastic.
It when we do this. Okay. So those of you stay on. We're just going to say goodbye to Rogers.
We're going to say bye to Rogers. Thank you for our Rogers audience for coming on here, Jodi.
Yes.
Thanks for your time, Mayor Joe.
Yeah.
And we're back. All right.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Nice gap there. That was really good. It was like we hardly left.
I know.
All right. What do you got next?
All right. Terry Mason's saying, Joe, you cannot ignore the truth. Terry, we're going to need to be more specific about what you're referencing, just because we had so many questions we were working through. I didn't see when that came in.
Yeah.
Brett Longfield, why is council supporting expansion of travel by motor vehicle as in support for rideshare programs instead of active transportation? through walkable, accessible urban design.
Why would you say that? We're doing every one of those things. Active transportation through trails and good urban design, increasing transportation through transit and how to do it better. Rideshare is just not, it's 2024.
Yeah.
And rideshare is everywhere, and we don't currently have a bylaw that covers it. So we thought we'd also talk about that. But there certainly are people in St. Thomas already using rideshare and would more likely use it if indeed we also made it available. We think it complements active transportation like trails and walking and biking. It complements our transit system because our transit system can only be, our transit system doesn't pull up to your door and take you to somebody else's door. But our cab system and a rideshare program, should it be approved, would be able to. So it's another piece added to the transportation in the city of St. Thomas. A very walkable city because of how our shape and size. You can pretty much walk from one side to the other in 30 minutes, which means you're 15 minutes if you're downtown from anywhere in St. Thomas.
Yeah, and one of the arguments I've heard as well is people that need to get to the hospital. Say they have mobility issues and they need to get to the hospital for an appointment or back. And sometimes the current fees can be a bit prohibitive for them financially. So they might need something that's a little bit more accessible.
Let's all we've done is brought it up at council to bring forward a bylaw. We'll have a lot more discussion. We're certainly looking for your input. If you want to leave your input here, leave your input at customer service, or if we have an open meeting about rideshare, we'll certainly ask you to come on in and talk about it.
Yeah. And then if you do have those issues, the Victorian Order of Nurses, they can help you with getting rides to and from the hospital. If that's an issue you're watching and you have that issue or someone else has that issue, contact them, the VON, to get help on that in that regard. Bradley Cliff, with all the jobs coming here, is there a power plant included in that, like a peaking plant or a waste to energy?
Yes. We have, first of all, we have Hydro One is now decided on the route for the redundancy of extra power to our industrial park. We know we would need that. We have talked about it on here. We've talked about it at council. A battery facility. This is a battery charging facility on Highbury near the power plant.
By Messenger.
Right near Messenger Freight.
Very cool.
And they take old batteries, once they're recycled or not recycled or out of automobiles or out of anything that uses a battery. And overnight, when electricity is very, very cheap, charge this whole system. And then the next day, dump that electricity back into the system to give us even more kilowatt hours in our own community. We've got the first one already approved in St. Thomas. We expect to see more. We expect to see even large industrial facilities be solar paneled roofs, and a lot of other ways of raising other electrical ability in our community. So on it, not shouting it from the rooftops yet, but telling you we're doing it.
We're working our way up there, though.
It's
very exciting. Scott Noseworthy says, City Council talked about the ride sharing last night and the taxi bylaw. CTV also had a story on tonight's newscast. Can you update us on any info regarding this?
Yes. We don't currently have a rideshare bylaw. We have no way of supervising or covering the rideshare part of the taxi or car for hire system. We have our taxi bylaw, and we'll have to rewrite it to include rideshare if that's what council decides, or write it to exclude rideshare. But that was a conversation last night by our environmental services department saying, can we look at the rideshare bylaw because we understand we're starting to get rideshare in our community and we'd like to be forefronting it instead of trying to chase it down after. So yes, we did talk about it. Yes, it will come back to council.
Okay, and we've got some more questions from Brett. We've covered them in the previous episodes. Like, will there be an interview process included for firms bidding on the contract for the new water reclamation facility?
Of course, we always do interviews. We pick the right people we can to do everything. Some people are, as you know, there's a great interview process on some of them to give us the consultation of what type of facilities to build. We may then hire that company to do it because they've proven to us they're the right one to do. But Municipal Act says we've got to take lowest price where we have a competition, an RFP. So, yes.
What are the risks of the current deflationary effects to our local economy?
Well, I'd love to see a little more deflation. I mean, inflation has caused us some extreme grief, especially in housing in our market. And so if we can continue, as this community has, keep taxes low, we're doing our part of it. Keeping building fees low, we're trying to do our part of it there too, and increasing roads and the like, so that's easier to do. We can help us grow in a solid way. Look, it's a lot more expensive to build a house now than it used to be, right? But that's as much 2x4s. It's much more 2x4s and bricks than it is city bureaucracy. We've tried to keep our lids on that, and certainly taxation is the same way. We've kept under 3 on average in the 6 years of this council.
And if you're looking at London, they're at like 7.8 or something.
Well, they jammed it down from 8.7 to 7.8. So well, I think we'll be able to do better than that in 2025. Sorry, Josh.
Poor Josh.
Sorry, Mayor Morgan.
Mayor Morgan, Sue's got a question. As per 77 Metcalf on aboutyourproperty.ca, their property taxes are the lowest in the area. Similar property size, estimated 70,000 less than properties with almost identical measurements. That is savings that the rest of us don't get. The house was bought under their understanding it was a heritage home. If you are promoting a heritage area, why wouldn't you ask what the people in your neighborhood think?
Well, because the homeowner themselves shared with us they were not told it was a heritage designated property when they built it. I don't know why one house in a neighborhood would pay less taxes than the rest of the houses in a neighborhood. Taxes are based on a levy rate by household value at a certain date, and so unless the house is was last appraised at such a low number, but I don't see it. So anyway, I'd have to have more information to be able to answer your question. But the true answer is we want the people who own the properties to have the decisions on what's designated and what isn't. We've always said that as this council, and so we'll continue to do that. I guess future or past councils did it slightly different, but this one has said the homeowner gets a role in it, not just the neighbors, but the homeowner gets the role.
Right. Adam Montgomery is saying, I think we should get Grayden running for councillor in the future, but you know what? We have an amazing council right now. I wouldn't want to change a single one of them.
Well, I would suggest that we have the best council I've ever seen across my times in politics, and I've only been mayor for six years, but even in my times before that, or my community active time, council used to be dysfunctional in this community, and for a long time it was no, I don't like what you said, because I've not heard an argument like that at our council. We respectfully disagree, come up with compromise solutions, and it is great. Hey, look, there's always great people out there, and anyone who would like to run should run. And I recognize that this council and the councilors in it will be happy to also play that game and advise. This office here, I'm pointing in the mayor's office, is always open. If someone wants to discuss with me personally, hey, what would you do? How would you get into politics? What should I do? What is the life really like? Come on in, give me a call. We'll see what we can do to squeeze in, even if it's just a phone call or a conversation about what political life in a municipality is like.
I can tell you from what I've seen, it's a lot more work than you'd think. But
I should have Stephanie on so she can.
Bradley Cliff saying it's not the 10-year plan. I'm not sure. Do you know if that's Bradley Cliff is saying it's not the 10-year plan.
What's not on the 10-year plan?
Not sure. Brett Longfield.
He went and looked up his street. That's
right. Okay, great.
Okay, so then I really do want you to mention on customer service that your street needs this, or it is you said something about walkways being too narrow or something. Please, let's get it into customer service so that we can maybe look at moving it into that 10-year plan.
Do they accept photos?
I suppose they could, but it's just a great start for you call customer service, that your comments will be sent over to, in our case, our engineering department, who would then say, let's just talk about it. Somebody go look out at Penhale and see whether, right? Yeah. Okay, please.
I've heard tales of Penhale.
Yeah. But that's the best way. Our customer service system in this city is top notch at getting your points to the directors that need to hear them. So So sometimes I've been accused, well, you just passed that off. All you did was told me to call customer service. Because I'm not a contractor.
You're not going to go out there and
I'm
fix
not
it,
an
Mayor
engineer.
Joe?
Pardon?
I want to see you out on those streets.
Yeah, well, okay, that's not to say I don't go take a peek, but I still don't know what the underground looks like under Penn Hill. But somebody in here does know how old the water line is, how old the cable line is, right? So that's why better to get it through the appropriate person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Bradley Cliff just said the above is referring to my previous Penn Warden question, which you figured out.
Right.
And then he's saying it's actually the opposite. The city plan shows the services are fair risk, but the road surface is falsely listed as very good condition. So yeah.
Well, then let them know it isn't.
Yep.
Thank you.
Beth Douglas, how do we find out where vacant city lands are?
Well, we put out a thing on Facebook maybe a month ago called city surplus lands, or city-owned lands that had been vacant or declared surplus. Some of them were quite tiny, and that's why they were on the list. I'll ask Caitlin to maybe repeat that again on
because you listed it.
Yeah, we listed what those streets, what those were, and some of them I didn't even know where they were. But I remember just right over here there was a kind of a half of a lot that was city surplus, but it had been kind of used as a kind of unknown parking lot. It turned into a Habitat for Humanity house.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hey, can I buy one of these parcels and build a house? Because I'm going to need one in the next year. No,
I don't think. I don't think any of them are big enough for a house.
What if I'm really
That's why we were amazed that we were able to get a Habitat for Humanity house.
Have you seen that cube in Toronto? It's like it just goes on pillars and then kind of goes out. I could do that.
Yeah.
No. Dale's saying, why hasn't anything been done with our transit system? Lots of people have complained about it and nothing has changed. There's a transit review coming through, isn't there?
Well, the transportation master plan that was reviewed last night at council, and if you want to watch last night's council, it's on. You can watch it on our website also. We're about halfway through the transportation master plan. There's a great deal of pieces in there in transit, but I'm going to remind you, 6 years ago, when this council was first elected, we didn't have Sunday transit. We didn't have transit past 6:30 at night, right? And now we have at least both of those. Is it spectacular? No, it's not. But I know right here in this chair, we've talked about it before. Yeah. Transit in St. Thomas, under its current format, costs us about $2 million a year. About $450,000 is collected in fares, and about $400,000 comes to us from the province in gas tax funding for transit. So just under $1 million goes to transit, and we spend over $2 million, or at $2 million. That's a pretty expensive proposition for us. We're trying to find other ways to include active transportation in the system, better road systems, and a transit system that is better serving than the one we have. We will, under this transportation master plan, come up with even a better one, we think. And as we expand parts of our community, we've got to service them too.
All right, I think we're going to have to pick up some of these questions next week, because we have a guest here. Joe and I we're happy to stay on late, but Jodi, I'm sure she's got to get home.
Home to the kids.
Well, Jodi, thank you again.
Yeah,
and you're right. If there's some that are repeats or that we can answer, well, that's there
will be. There's so many, Mayor. There's so many questions here. We are going to pick them up next week. I'll copy them out. I'll make sure we cover them, so everybody who's asked a question, we will come back around and get those answered. But Jodi, thanks again for coming on and sharing.
And thank you for having me.
We got a great start on some of the how do we get ready for the jobs that are coming? Yeah. How do we fill the jobs that are wanting right now? And at least once a day, I see somebody on Facebook someplace say, I'm looking for work. Does anybody know about any jobs?
Send them our way.
Well, I have your agency. I have Indeed. I have other agencies all sending me their daily reports. So I sure see all the jobs that are online in St. Thomas for you to look at. Yeah. I'm not saying they're all great. I'm not saying that they would all hire you.
Yeah.
But there are places you can be applying.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll help you. We'll get your resume up to date. We'll help you with interviewing skills. We'll get all of that done. Walk into Employment Services Elgin, give them a call, get started on the process. And let's get ready to get some of you hired in pretty high-paying jobs at PowerCo 3 years from now.
Yeah.
But let's start the process. Let's get you out there and get you employed and get you working towards great jobs.
For sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
We've got
good.
one more question for you, Jodi.
Okay.
It came in from Bradley Clift. He's like, wait, can Jodi find me operating engineering jobs in the area?
Yes, come in and see us.
Yes.
And we will do our best to help you.
Yes.
That's the final one. All right.
All right.
Thanks again, guys. I'm going to play the
Thanks.
outro.
Yep. I miss you all already. Thank you for letting us have an extra show tonight.
Yep. And then what about employment? Now is a final question. Yes, talk to them. Brett,
Yeah.
pop in, talk to them.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.